because everybody can see me. Well, no, the million people that's inside the camera. Am I just gonna be, are y'all gonna ask me a question or am I gonna just talk?
You can just talk.
Oh, okay.
About Mama Lila and what she represents to you. How can you be? You can just talk. Just what she represents to you. Just look at me. When you're ready.
Oh, I'm looking at you when I'm talking. Oh, okay. Oh boy, where do I begin with Mama Lila? Oh boy, she is the grandmother you wish you had, the mother that you always wanted. Oh gosh, she was just the epitome of love. But I think more so she was for equality. Because when I first started at Wayne State's, the Detroit Equity Action Lab, the first thing she said to me was like, "Ooh, I'm so happy you're here." And me thinking, me too, because I have a job. She was like, "No. We have too many white passing or white presenting people in spaces that should be filled with color." And oh gosh, she was just so uplifting, and it's so many words that doesn't even touch the passion or the personality of Mama Lila. She was just always giving and moving. She was always on her way to some protest, some meeting to advocate for somebody or something. But yeah, we lost a great warrior, a real important entity in the fight for racial justice. I don't know. She will be missed, but she's still with us, and the fight will go on. We will always, still protest and complain and try to right wrongs. But yeah, we gonna miss you, Mama Lila. That's not long enough?
That's great.
Oh, okay.
Whenever you're ready to tell your story.
Okay. My name's Bill Wiley Kellerman. I'm a United Methodist pastor, recently retired from St. Peter's Episcopal Church in Southwest Detroit. I knew Mama Lila most regularly in terms of work with People's Water Board and the Faith Outreach Committee we were on together. And she was really insistent with us that movement work involves spiritual work, that it not only was it a matter of doing outreach, interfaith outreach to a variety of congregations, but engaging in the struggle at a spiritual level. And in her church, which is Church of God in Christ, she was kind of known as a prayer warrior. In that denomination, women are not allowed in the pulpit, but there's a sense in which she preached in the streets. She brought the justice sense of the gospel to water work in the streets. The story that I wanted to tell is about her as an elder. She, early on in this last round of the water struggle, the summer of 2013, Maud Barlow, who was a Canadian international human rights person, who actually is one who was instrumental in getting the United Nations to declare water as a human right. She'd been involved in that work for years, and an author, and worked with the Council of Canadians, and was bringing that support to the Detroit water struggle that was just beginning. And they brought a truckload of water across the Ambassador Bridge to Detroit as part of this act of solidarity. And our church, St. Peter's, had just opened up as one of the water distribution stations. So the water was coming to the church, and we were in the process of a lot of people. There was press there, cameras, and kind of ceremonial, and this truckload of water, and people started kind of a water brigade of bringing it. And Mama Lila stepped from the crowd to interrupt the flow of the cases, because it was cases of bottled water, and it was like, no. I think someone who wasn't an elder or didn't have that authority couldn't make an awkward, and it was like we're receiving a gift and she's saying no, but she really made the point in a very vivid way that commodified, plasticized water was not to be, treated as a great gift. Now, and we still received the gift. We distributed the water, but that was that's a lesson that she drove home over and over with people, and she could pull it off in that situation because she was an elder. Good?
Thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
What is your name again?
Bill?
Look at me.
Okay.
Is there something, a recollection of Mama Lila that sticks out in your mind that you would want to share?
I spent a lot of time with her, so I have many, many stories. I have my all-time favorite story. She really taught us about water and protecting water for 7 generations ahead. In 2017, the Women's March came and did a very large convention. A good 5,000 people showed up for this convention at Cobo Hall. And they asked her to speak at the Sojourner Truth luncheon at the convention. And the moment she walked through the door and she saw all of the bottled water, I mean, she was already like, they could have really went the extra mile and made sure that, even if you had those big drums that people could just walk through and fill up cups with or something, and it was Nestle on top of that. So the moment she walked through the door, she was already like checking everything out, wanting to talk to the organizers and things like that. It was a few hours later, she was still there. I'm surprised she didn't leave, because that's how real she was. But it was a few hours later, and when she went to go on stage to speak at this 5,000 person very important luncheon, and she saw the bottled water on the stage, she said, I'm not walking on that stage until it's removed. And that's just the way that it is. And you should have seen all of the organizers. That's how much power she carried. They immediately got up, scrambled to get all of the bottled water off of the stage. And before she even introduced herself, she said, this is why I had them remove the bottled water off of this stage. The commodification of water is one of the biggest crimes against humanity. And she taught us all a very important lesson that moment. And from there on out, you're not going to come to an event that all of us are at and see bottled water. We carry that legacy. She would have wanted that, and that's how we do. You go the extra mile to make sure everybody has something to drink, but you don't give in to the worst thing that's ever happened, first crime that's ever happened.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I feel like I could.
So when you're ready, you can just start talking, or I can ask you a question.
Okay.
Just talk to me.
Okay.
We can talk.
The first thing that we're gonna say is all power to the people. Ready? Y'all ready? You ready?
Yep.
We're ready. All power to the people.
All power to the people.
I met Lila Cabell 7 years ago when I was released from Jackson Prison. I had been a political prisoner for 36 years. and she became one of my most faithful and resourceful allies in my re-entry and adjustment and maturing in a new world for me. I was a member of the Black Panthers and a political prisoner, and Mama Lila was every bit of a warrior of any Black Panther that I ever encountered. And she was also a very loving and forgiving person who believed strongly in restoration, and that it is not about judgments of guilt, but it's about how do we move forward and do better. Ain't that what we talk about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, Mama Lila encouraged me into leadership among the men of Detroit and the organizing of the men of valor, as we Christians, refer. And first, the engagement, which was men of valor engaged. And then in the last year, we were moved to change that to men of victory empowered. And as an elder, the question that both Lila and I ask is, how do we resource our students wherever they are in their revolutionary, evolutionary thinking? How do we resource that? We are accountable for what we have taught the generations that precede us into this struggle. That's it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for showing
Now,
up too.
now, I might have something that would be interesting for your class. I am the founder of, one of the co-founders of the Detroit Black Panther History Project. Nobody has heard the stories of the Detroit Black Panthers. And also in the telling of those stories is one of the great mysteries of the movement. And that is, how is it that the largest chapter of the Black Panthers, one of the largest chapters, which was Detroit, right, has the least, how is that we have the least amount of information about the Detroit chapter? What research has uncovered very, very clearly is that the Detroit chapter did something that was groundbreaking. It came, first of all, out of the radical black unions of Detroit. The best resourced organizations in the history of our people were the black unions. Each member contributed cooperatively, communally, collectively to that power. That power led the last of the strikes against Dodge Main. That power inspired the last 3 strikes of the runs that Ford, the Froms from Ford, the Radical, and Drum from Dodge Main. This was some new territory. This was an area that had been almost the exclusive right of white union. And the drums, with the whisper that the Black Panthers were organizing in the unions, the Detroit unions posed what J. Edgar Hoover called the greatest threat to the internal security of the United States. There's nothing else that we did. And so then we wonder, like, okay, Why was this, how do we not know this when it's so clear when we state it, right? That the Detroit branch of the Black Panthers in the most radical city, the most politicized city, the most politicized African-centered city in the country, and we know nothing about it. That's repression. Why? Because had we understood this, say 45 years ago, we might have foreseen the attack on Detroit. And the attack on Detroit is such that I come home from prison 7 years ago, right? I had been in at that time for 26 calendar years. I had been behind, the walls. And I turned the corner to go to the block where I had first moved to Detroit. And there had been 47 houses, I believe it was, on this block. And this is how I saw it for the first time. I hyperventilated, I fainted, I was incoherent, I couldn't tell anybody, I couldn't express how horrifying that I had sat in prison for 36 years thinking that I was going to return home to see old girlfriends, old friends, guys who I had drank, played ball with, fixed on cars with, etc., etc., etc. And all of them were gone. All of their homes were gone. Their children, their dogs were gone. They were only, and I fainted. I'm talking about, so when we talk about this struggle that we're in, and we can look at a city that over the last 60, 70 years decreased its population by 1 million? 1 million?
Can we get more contact information so that we can reach out?
So all of that is, and it is confirmed by first-person testimony in these never-told stories of the Detroit branch of the Black Panthers and its ties to the Union. It's crazy.
Absolutely. Definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to use the table over here or.
Hey, didn't I have a pack on my shoulder?
Yeah?
I did?
Yeah, it's right there. How about?
Oh.
Excuse me. And. Hey there. Okay. So let me know when you're ready to read.
Okay. I'm ready.
You ready? Okay. So you can just look at me. Okay? So I'm recording.
Oh,
Okay?
Mama Lila taught us all that water is a human right and everyone should have access to it. She taught us all that selling water for a profit like Nestle was bad, very bad. It was the biggest crime against humanity. She also reminded us every day that water is a living thing. It should be protected for 7 generations ahead. And she always encouraged the youth, my brothers, my siblings, a lot of them, that we can be the leaders of today. And we will carry on living her legacy for her.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you can think of or that you want to say about Mama Lila?
No.
No? Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much.
So Lila was a great teacher, a great friend, a great mentor. I don't think we've begun to really unpack the gifts that she's left for us. I mean, there's so many things I've learned from Lila. First of all, and most importantly, is that this work really is relational. You know, she often would quote, you know, Charity Hicks saying, "We must wage love." But yet at the same time, Lila was such a strong truth teller. And, you know, we worked together on the water issue, but there's a whole other side to Lila that, you know, I'm kind of more circumspect about, I guess I'd say. Very much she was a spiritual director for me. We would pray together. We would spend time on the phone talking about things that were deeply personal. Her wisdom was just unbelievable. A couple things that I would lift up from her that I've learned was the importance of gathering around table, around food. Again, that emphasis on relationship. And also, you know, the great love for young people. You know, Lila just had a great love, and more than just a love, never patronizing, a great respect for the gifts that young people have to give, and always looking for people on the margins. You know, I'm kind of shy myself. I don't like to speak publicly and so on. And Lila was always pushing me forward. Don't be so awkward. Don't be so uncomfortable. Go out there. And, you know, we did a walk from Detroit to Flint, and it was organized very quickly. And every night I would call Lila and say, "Lila, this walk's just not going to happen. The pieces aren't falling into place." And Lila's like, "Kim, I got prayer warriors all over the country. This is going to happen." And that walk to Flint from Detroit was a blessed event. And it was Lila's prayers and her wisdom and her hard work, you know, her hard work that really helped make that walk happen. And I'm going to miss her dearly. We shared a birthday, and so we're two October 23rd Scorpios together, and that was another aspect of Lila, was just the fun times sharing coffee together, going out for dinner, and I'm going to miss her deeply. But I'll tell you what, we have our marching orders, and that's what came out of today. We have our marching orders, and we all have work to do. So I'm humbled and honored to even lift up Lila's name in this interview.